All these things that people don't realize, or in casual conversation, body language matters. And when we talk communication, I want to be clear with people. We're talking about every facet of communication and every arena of communication.
Right.
Because from the moment you wake up in the morning, you're communicating.
I want people to understand that you want to be successful, you want to build wealth, you want to build a successful business, especially the leaders out there. Maybe it has nothing to do with what the people are telling you that you need to work on. What you need to work on is your communication.
1, 2, 3, 4.
All right, man. Hey, how's the road trip?
6 hours.
6 hours.
6 hours. But you know what? It's a road trip that's been worth it. It's long. It takes time. But the reason why I'm doing the road trip makes me not even have to think twice about doing it. So
I love it.
Yeah, I've been going back and forth to Arizona.
Yeah.
My mom had a liver transplant surgery. She was there at the Mayo Clinic. All these God moves that just worked out. I could talk to you for an hour and a half, probably a week just about that.
Yeah.
But I'll just give you 30 seconds of
Yeah.
it. My mom had experienced a real miracle, had a liver transplant after years of battling liver cirrhosis. The transplant took place there in Arizona, and so myself, my brother, we've been going back and forth during her recovery process. And but I remembered I had this. I said, you know what? I'll leave at 6 in the morning.
Bro, I appreciate you coming in, man. And praise God that your mom's doing well. That's good.
Yes.
Man, guys, today's episode, I am excited. Let me tell you. I'm so excited. The reason why is because I got my coach. I got a world-renowned speaker, an incredible husband, incredible father, incredible business coach. I mean, the list goes on. My speaking coach, my communications coach, the coach of major league speakers, Mr. Gabriel Villa.
Yes.
Welcome, man.
Well, so good to be here with you,
dude. This is I think this is one that I'm really excited for. And we were kind of talking a few weeks back when we were lining this date up, and communication is a skill.
Yes.
Right? There's an art to communication that we're going to break down. I'd love for you to break down just like, your philosophy of how you coach and key takeaways for communicators and stuff like that. But when it comes to building a business, right, you got to be a great, or any type of leader, really. You got to be a great communicator. So an analogy or example we've talked about in the course as well is marriage as well. Right? Being able to communicate in marriage and stuff like that. But before we get into any of the communication stuff, man, tell us a little bit about your journey as a communicator, as a pastor. I guess just kind of tell us a little bit about yourself as well.
Yeah. So first of all, I see your progression. Look at this place that we're at today.
Praise God. Yeah.
When we first did, I think, our first podcast together, it didn't look like this.
No, it did not look like this.
You didn't have all this fancy gear and equipment. So look how far you've come.
Praise God.
And that was just a few months ago.
Yeah.
Anyway, I had to acknowledge what was going on
Thank
here.
you, man.
So for me, my communication journey started when I was a kid. I didn't realize that till I traced back. Like, when did I start to really communicate and be affected, I guess, by communication? Because, of course, you're 3, 4, 5 years old. You're learning to speak and talk. And I mean, I went that deep into my communication journey.
Yeah.
I said, where did my communication journey really, begin? And I looked at the fact that I was affected by my communication when I was in kindergarten. And it was in kindergarten that I started to finally be around other kids, right? Like you're interacting with others and you're kind of learning about yourself. And I remember kindergarten was different for me because I didn't realize at home that I had a speech impediment. Because the only people I would talk to is my mom, my dad, my brothers, my sisters. And I just never acknowledged or knew. I mean, I'm only, 5, 6 years old. I never realized that I was different, not in the way I looked or anything, but just in my communication. I couldn't say certain words. I couldn't say a lot of words. Couldn't say, like, my brothers and sisters still make fun of me to this day. Like, I couldn't say girls. I couldn't say world. I couldn't say all these different, like, earls. I would say girl. I would say whoa. I would say, and so I remember, and keep hitting this mic.
Okay.
I remember in kindergarten, they did this thing where every week a new student presented. And so you would present something that meant something to you, and you would show all the other boys and girls. But there was a statement that everybody said, and you had to open it with this statement. You had to say, "Good morning, boys and girls," and everybody would say, "Good morning." And it was like a line you had to do. And so when I found out my week was coming up, I said, "Oh my goodness, I can't say girl. Like I can't do it." And so for like 2 weeks, ask my sister, she tells this story to this day, I'm practicing saying, "Good morning, boys and girls. Good morning, boys and girls." But it didn't sound like that. It sounded like, "Good morning, boys and girls. Good morning, boys and girls. And my sister, I remember her to this day, she was saying, "Girls, girls. Good morning, boys and girls." I couldn't do it. And so that fear of communicating to people hit me literally when I was in kindergarten.
Wow.
And so from first grade, second grade, third grade, I mean, I went up there in kindergarten and I said girls and I said what? I said all those wrong things.
Yeah.
And throughout my elementary school, all that, I had speech therapy. They would come and pull us out of class. And I remember I would go, me, Elisha, he had a lisp, Gavin, he had a stutter. They would take us all and they would take us to these classes and we'd, learn. And from that early age, I guess that's what sparked a desire in me to be a better communicator. And throughout my, journey then, I was also involved at a young age in my church, my local church, and my family were radically experienced salvation. My mother had a amazing testimony of grace that was extended on her life, and she was a former heroin addict, drug addict. My father as well was caught in lifestyles of addiction, and they were saved, rescued. And so from a young age, I was going to church. And what I didn't realize about church at the time is we are constantly sitting under communication and high level communication.
Yeah.
I had a pastor who preached every week. I'd hear him speak. The dynamics that he used, the ability to transmit the word of God, faith, to speak, and literally people's lives changed. And we know that that's because of the power of the Holy Spirit and the moving of God in somebody's life. But I noticed that my pastor had an ability to shape an atmosphere with how he was speaking and how he would continually sharpen himself in communicating the word of God. And that was something at a young age I was so captivated by,
Right.
so interested in.
Yeah.
And so I went on my personal journey. I remember being 12, 13 years old. Now I've progressed a little bit in life. I'm not the 5, 6, 7-year-old who, has no idea how to speak. And at that age, I started actually getting opportunities to speak to people. And I remember the first time I was maybe 11 years old. Actually, I was like 7, 8 years old when I actually spoke for the first time in front of a crowd. It was at a church, at my church on a Sunday morning.
Wow.
And it was like a kid's presentation. So I don't know
Yeah.
if I count that one.
Yeah.
But
Well, you're getting the experience.
I was getting the experience,
Yeah.
whether I know it or not,
Right.
or knew it or not.
Yeah.
I didn't know what was happening to me, and I didn't know this was outside of the regular human experience. Like the other kids that were going to school with me, the other kids I grew up with, they didn't have these communication opportunities that I had. And so I was, communicating there in settings like that. And then when I was like 11, 12 years old, I remember for the first time communicating on a stage. I had my own notes and I was communicating to a group of people. And then when I was like maybe 12 years old, I got an opportunity to speak at a conference for junior hires. And at this conference for junior hires, there was like maybe 2,000 junior hires.
Oh, wow.
And I'm only 12 years old.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And I did horrible. Like, I look back on that and I'm like, oh my goodness, who let me do that?
Yeah.
I was so nervous. I was so, if we don't have the video of it, thank God there's no video of it. But if you were to look back at that video and look at me speak, I was probably staring at my notes the whole entire time. And the thing with junior hires is they have no grace on another junior hire. So literally, like, I probably said a joke. I remember it so clearly. I said a joke and nobody laughed. And I'm like looking in the crowd like, okay, I just want this to be over already. And it was only like maybe 7 minutes long that I was up there. Anyways, all of that has shaped my communication journey. As I got older, I got more ability or more opportunity to speak. I started to really notice that I could sharpen this gift of communication, which I believe that all of us have. God has given us all a voice. And just like we need to be good stewards of our finances, just like we need to be good stewards of our family, I believe you have to be a good steward of the voice that God has given you to.
That's good.
Especially when you know you have a message to deliver to people. And so I had that urge to get better. I went to high school. I was getting more opportunities to speak, a lot of faith-based opportunities that I would get. And then I remember when I was 21 years old, I got my first opportunity to speak. Well, I was in junior high speaking in front of 2,000 people. But
Yeah.
when I was actually like, you know,
Speaking
in my own skin, in my own identity, along the journey, really grasping the moment. I was probably 21 years old when I got that first opportunity to speak in front of maybe 3,000 to 4,000.
Oh wow.
That was my very first like big opportunity.
Yeah.
I had spoke already in front of maybe 100, 200, 300, 500, but never in front of a crowd that big.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what I was doing, to be honest with you. I was learning from mistakes, getting better through different things. So to give people a picture, that's kind of been my journey.
It's not what you see today.
It's not what you see today. I've had to really grow. As of today, I've been able to speak on hundreds of stages, not just faith-based. I've been able to speak to groups of high-level business executives. I've been able to speak to rooms of employees for companies. I've been able to speak to different settings, but everything I learned was faith-based.
Right.
That's how I started.
You know, it's thanks for sharing that, because like as you're kind of going through your story, I remember the first time that I got my opportunity to speak publicly. I think it was my junior year in high school. Okay. I went to a military school, which I think I've told you before. And it was at the end of my junior year. I was at the incoming president, class president of my senior class, right? And I was as the class president, I was supposed to give this speech. And I was so nervous. I had my notes for about a week. I was practicing in the mirror, and every other word I was stuttering. I wrote my own speech, and I couldn't pronounce words in my own speech. This is before ChatGPT, by the way. Okay,
it was just you alone.
It was just me
getting it,
and I'll never forget. There was probably about 300 to 400 people there. Not to mention, I had a big old pimple on my forehead.
Oh.
Right? And this thing was like Mount Everest on my forehead. And I was just so nervous. I'll never forget. I stuttered, and I just couldn't wait for that presentation to be done. From that day forward, I told myself, I need to become a better speaker. I need to get better. And this is before I started walking with the Lord. This is just me being an individual and being in the place of a leadership position. And what I realized throughout the years is that God has opened up doors for me to be able to communicate with people. Right. And recently, you and I have gotten a couple years ago, and even through other, church services and church events. And what I've realized is that there's so many great communicators when it comes to the kingdom of God. Right. And so why? Right. I started diving deeper into that. Guys like yourself, guys like my pastors at Patriot, right. Other church events. And what I realized is that they steward their gift. They've practiced, right? We talked about the other day, like it's like the baseball player in high school, right? That is completely talented, never shows up to practice, never puts in the work to be better. And then you got the guy that, I'll say it's like I don't want to say it's the worst guy on the team, right? But he's in the middle. He's mediocre at his skill.
He doesn't have all those crazy
But he doesn't have all the crazy talents. He puts in the work. He's ultimately the one that makes. He's that Michael Jordan that got cut from his high school basketball team that ends up becoming a Hall of Fame basketball player, right? And so what I love about these major league speakers is, obviously we'll dive into your coaching program, but what I love about it is that they get better by putting the time in, right, and practicing their skill sets, right? And that's what you help a lot of communicators do, right? Communicators, business executive, people in ministry, whatever it is, right? But it's how do people get better at their communication? Like, there's tonality. There's a lot of skills and tools. You talk about a toolbox,
Yeah.
right? What somebody's listening to this, they're a business, because a lot of our following are entrepreneurs, right? And, I get asked questions all the time like, man, Pablo, you're such a great speaker now, but how do I become a better speaker?
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'll be so honest. I don't know how to answer that sometimes because I've relied on talent for so long, right? And just observing these great communicators, these great preachers, these great, speakers, these TED Talks, right? I just study it and then I just try to replicate. But now the beautiful part about working with you is that you highlight these tools, right, inside of the toolbox. And you have a way of communicating it with major league speakers and stuff like that. Talk a little bit about that because what are some key tools that communicators or people that want to be better speakers and communicators, what are some of the things that you talk about?
Well, you mentioned something a little earlier. You said, why are there so many faith-based people who became great communicators or are great communicators?
Yeah.
Well, there's also something in the faith-based world in churches where the most amazing musicians that most of the time started in church. Now, why is that? Like, if you look at all these touring artists, if you go look at their band, like I know this for a fact because I know some of these guys because they started in church.
Right.
If you go look at their band and you look who's playing for them, I guarantee you, I don't know the numbers, but if I was a betting man, I would say 80% of these musicians started in church. Maybe 90% of musicians, honestly. Why? Because these guys have been getting reps since they were like 9 years old. One of my friends, he started out in church. He was a keyboard player. He actually started out playing the congas, right? Shout out to Israel if you ever watch this. He started out playing the congas in church. He was like 10 years old. Then he started playing the keys. Then he became like an actual music director. Now he's playing every Sunday, every Wednesday. Like, where else is your average musician going to get this kind of time spent, these on the in-game reps? Like, where's somebody going to get that stuff? So by the time he's 18 years old, all these other kids have finished high school and maybe played keyboard in their band once or twice. And this guy has been a legit MD for the last 4 years. So now this guy goes on to tour with some of the biggest names in music because he had those reps. How did I learn how to become a better communicator? Well, I was blessed that I got to take a lot of reps. There was a point where I was speaking 2 times a week, 3 times a week sometimes. I'd have my small group. I'd speak to them there. I'd get an opportunity to speak in one of the services, things like that. So I got this just mass amount of reps in. And I learned from my mistakes. I don't think people have to learn like that. You don't have to learn like I learned. If you're out there and you're trying to be a better communicator, you don't have to learn from your mistakes like I did, because that means that you'd have to actually go and make the mistake.
Right.
Now, there are some things naturally you're going to make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. But I wish I had somebody that I could have learned from their mistakes. They could have showed me the ropes. And I had some people that showed me a few things, but I didn't have really anybody like get detailed into the communication journey. I had brothers alongside me that we learned with each other.
Right.
And we constantly critiquing each other, constantly evaluating with each other. So then I got to a point in my communication journey where there was a lot of people asking me, just like they were asking you, how do you get better in your communication? How do I grow? What do I do? What are the skills I need? And I started to really think about it because I almost just, in my mind, I became a better communicator, but I didn't know how. Like, how did I do this? Like, what actually happened? So I started to like reverse engineer this thing and think to myself, okay, these are the actionable skills that if anybody learns, they can become a better communicator. Just like, and people are wondering, like, okay, tell me already what it is.
What is it?
What is it? But just like if somebody wants to be better at basketball, well, what do you tell them? Well, you got to get better at dribbling. You got to get better at shooting that ball. Your form has to get good.
Yeah.
You have to learn how to work off of screens. You need to learn how to play defense. Now I have some actionable things of how to get better. If I want to become a better MMA fighter, well, I'm going to have to learn how to grapple. I'm going to learn how to have some speed. I got to learn how to defend. I got to learn how to strike. I got to learn all these skill sets. So now I have actionable things. Okay, I know how to be a better UFC fighter, MMA fighter. But in communication, most people think like, well, how do I become a better communicator? Do I just look at a mirror and talk in the mirror and just hope I get better when the opportunity presents itself to speak? No. That's what I used to think.
Yeah.
But there are actionable ways. There's skill sets, just like dribbling, just like all this stuff. There's things that you can learn. Okay, for me, it's a communication toolbox. And this communication toolbox will help you to build a communication foundation that will allow you to speak well and speak with confidence anywhere. It's actionable skills like your tone, the tone of your voice. Married people know best that tone matters.
Oh, yeah.
Because everybody has heard their wife tell them, it's not what you said, it's, go ahead, Pablo.
How you said it.
It's how you said it. How many times have you heard that? Don't tell us.
I love you, babe.
I've heard that from my wife.
Yeah.
I've had other guys I talk to and they're like, man, my wife's mad at me again. Why? I just told her this. And they told me something that's not really that bad. And I'm like, I know you said that, but you're not telling me how you said that.
Right.
Married people know tone matters. And more than that, it matters in every situation of life. Mm-hmm. And tone, I think, is one of the biggest tools that you can learn. You know how I learned tone? I'll just pause right here.
Yeah,
give me 30 seconds here.
Go ahead.
One of the ways I learned tones is that as a young pastor, I started being asked to do funerals. And I was in a city where there was a lot of young people who were passing away to violence, to different things. And being a young pastor, people in the community would reach out to me to do the funeral. You talk about learning tone and technique. Imagine going into a funeral where people are mourning the death. And it's different because it wasn't the death of like a person who lived a long life and, right. Celebration. A lot of times these funerals that I was doing early in my life, they were funerals for young men who had been gunned down, young men who had experienced tragic deaths, young women who had overdosed, crazy situations.
Yeah.
And so I'd have to go to the family, talk to them about the funeral, and then get on stage and actually conduct the funeral service. I have never been more nervous in my life. I've spoke to thousands of people. Nothing compares to speaking in somebody's funeral of a young man who had so much more life, or a young woman who had so much more life, and you're dealing with a mourning family. And I had to learn how to use a tone that was reassuring, that was hopeful, but wasn't too happy where I seemed disrespectful, that captured the moment but wasn't depressing. All these thoughts are running through my mind. Tone. Now, someone's watching this, they're saying, well, I don't do funerals, so what does that have to do with me? No, you're walking into a negotiation, you're walking into a deal, you're meeting a potential client, and if you're not using this tool, this communication toolbox, if you're not learning, how do I use my tone to my advantage? How do I use my tone to create an atmosphere that's welcoming, or that's trustworthy, or that's authentic, or that's genuine, or okay, that's one, right? Okay,
right, that's one,
because we could go
deep on that one.
Me and Pablo talked for an hour and a half.
We just had a session on that,
about tone. Okay,
yeah.
Tone, your not only your tone, but your body language. How you use your body language to communicate.
That's a big one. Let's dive into that, because that's a big one. I have a lot of partners. I know a lot of people that they're engaged, but their body language doesn't always reflect that. So I'd love for you to kind of dive into that one.
Body language is important, and it's something that most people don't develop unless they pay attention to it. And they're doing it naturally, but not knowing what they're doing, so they have no control over it. If you're speaking on a stage, I always tell people, before you say your first word, you've already communicated to them. Why is that? Just from the way you walk on the stage, just from the way that you walk up, you open your notes, or whatever it is that you do, everything you do, every gesture, every move, you're speaking to them. Even if they're not comprehending it, like, oh, this guy is communicating to me, even if it's subconscious. Like, for example, if somebody goes on stage and they're like really rushed, really fast, they go to open their notes, it looks like they're nervous, they're opening it, They're settling themselves. And then they talk. Before you've even said anything, you've said it all.
Mm.
I had a mentor in my life who every time he would take the stage, he was calm, cool, and collective. He would take his time. He would walk, showing that he's in control of the room. He'd walk slow, go up, he'd open it, he'd get ready, and then he would speak. And what did that say already? That this guy's confident.
Confident, prepared.
Prepared.
Yeah.
Not in a rush. Only people who are in a rush, they're nervous. People who are in a rush, they're worried about what other people think. You go up, standing straight, standing strong. All these things that people don't realize. Or in casual conversation, body language matters. And when we talk communication, I want to be clear with people. We're talking about every facet of communication and every arena of communication.
Right.
Because from the moment you wake up in the morning, you're communicating. Especially if you're married. Another nugget for married people, right?
Yeah.
Especially if you're married.
This is great. Yes.
Even if you're not married, you're going to put gas in your car and you're talking to the attendant and then you're going back and you're getting phone calls, and all throughout our day, we're communicating. And especially for those, the Wealth Group podcast, that we're talking wealth.
Right.
For those who are involved in wealth creation, you're talking to people. You have to be talking to people. I don't really know anybody who's building wealth and not talking to anybody.
You know what's funny is I had this conversation, a couple things that stand out to me, but I had this conversation, especially with, we have an insurance agency, right? So we're selling a contract, essentially is what it is at the end of the day.
Okay.
And I tell people when I'm in a sales training or organization or something like that, I tell people our job, we have to be great communicators. It's not, respectfully to all real estate agents, okay, don't come at me. We're not selling a piece of property where you don't have to be the best communicator. The house sells itself. We have to be good at communication. We have to be good at explaining. We have to be good at understanding people's feelings. And a lot of times, that's our own internal reflection. People are going to, if we don't seem confident and we can't communicate a contract clearly, then how are our clients or how's the audience going to react to those things?
Yeah.
Right? So that's huge. Being able to communicate,
It's everything.
Everything.
It's everything. Whether you realize it or not, it's everything.
Yeah.
If you're not communicating well, communication will cost you big time.
You can say that again.
Communication will cost you whether you like it or not, whether you know it or not, whether you acknowledge it or not. Communication will either be your biggest advantage, your biggest leverage, or it'll cost you the most. There's three things, the big three I call them. The big three that communication could cost you or could leverage you. Time, money, and relationships. The big three. Everybody wants more of those three things. They want more time. How many people don't want more time? More time to spend with our family, more time to go on vacation, more time to think, more time to do anything. Time. People want more money.
Yeah.
It's the Wealth Group podcast. I don't have to emphasize on that.
Right.
People want more money.
Right.
And people want the right relationships. We're fulfilled by the relationships that are around our lives. And so we want the right relationships. And how many times has one relationship changed the whole trajectory of somebody's life or business? One relationship, right? I'm sure you could think of one relationship that changed your life forever. I could do the same.
Yeah.
I could think of one relationship that changed everything. Now, let me ask you this. What if your communication held you back from those three things? Well, how? How would my communication affect my time? When you're not properly communicating, you're costing yourself time because of maybe unclarity. There's not clarity. So when there's not clarity, things don't move as fast. There's misunderstandings. I've heard it said like this, that bad communication is like a silent, invisible tax on everything productive you do. Bad communication is like a tax on a silent tax on the productivity of everything you do. So people are being productive, right? And they don't realize if they're not sharp with their communication skills, if they're not talking to their team in the most skilled way, if they're not talking to their clients in the most skilled way, if they're not talking to the people around them, even there's people who are watching this, they want to build wealth, but they're still in a setting where they have a boss, or they have an upline, or they have somebody that they have to talk to who leads them. If you don't know how to communicate in that relationship, it'll cost you, right? And people don't realize that there's a tax being put on the productivity of my life when I don't learn how to communicate properly. And I hate taxes, and I'm sure you do too. I'm sure you do too.
Oh, yeah.
If not, it's costing you money. There's people who they're not getting deals because they're not communicating right. How many times have you ended up doing a deal because somebody liked you?
Yep.
Somebody liked you. And what made them like you? Yeah, you can smile. Yeah, you can. But how do they get to know you? What is somebody's insight of who you are? Well, your vocal profile, how you communicate to them. And in a way where they ended up liking you.
Yeah.
Has anyone ever just done business with you because they just liked you?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They liked you. It's costing you money. I know somebody who they're not the best communicators, and I'm putting them out there anonymously, but I work with them, so they know.
Sure.
They're not the best communicators to their employees. They're not the best communicator to their employees. They have over 400 employees. And of their 400 employees, they came to me the other day and they said, I'm losing some of my best people. And one person just left and they said, you know why everyone's leaving you? Because you don't talk to us right. And we don't feel valued by you. And we don't, you're talking about money? You know how much money it takes to replace that high-level position? You know how much time it's costing their team to have to work out that role while that position is vacated? And you say, well, I need to sharpen my communication? If this person had learned the skill of communication, they wouldn't have had these high-level people leaving their team. That's costing them time to keep the company afloat, costing them money to put in, costing them opportunity money to make.
Wow.
I would say that communication mistake was probably costing that person somewhere in the six figures. So if you really do the math. And the last thing is relationships, and I don't have to labor that.
Yeah.
There's people who haven't found their wives because they don't know how to communicate right.
Or lost. Potentially for not communicating their feelings or whatever, right? Wow.
The big three. Now let's turn that around. Let's talk the positive. If you grow in your communication, you have the most leverage, more than anybody else, on those three things. Your time. If you learn how to communicate right, it'll save you time. It'll save you time. For me, my communication skills opened up doors for me that nothing else could have opened up for me. And I walked through doors that could have took years. But because I had communication skills and I was able to develop relationships with the right people and communicate and show, and it wasn't politicking and it wasn't manipulating people. No, it's the ability to communicate who I was. And because people think, oh, communication, so you're like swindling people in your communication skills. No. It's the ability to show people the true reflection of who I am with my words. And so when I show people the true reflection of who I am with my words, they see my genuineness, they see my authenticity, then doors open up.
Yeah.
It saved me time. It saved me money. It saved me a lot of relationships.
Oh, yeah. It's so good, man, because like a practical, like I could even think about like when we're little, right? I think about when maybe even like my daughter, right? Sometimes and I'm correlating this story to business and building wealth and whatever the case may be, right? But as you're going through this, you're saying time, you're saying money and relationships. As when we're little kids, how many times are we feeling so many different emotions and we don't know how to communicate those things? And we end up spending a whole bunch more time, potentially even money, right? I put my daughter in the wrong sport because she couldn't communicate with me what she really wanted to do, as an example, right? And so we never work on this skill. We carry the what would you call it, Pastor Gabriel? We would carry like this inability to communicate.
Okay.
Right, into business, and then we start a business and we don't know how to communicate with our clients. You know, maybe something that we're trying to sell to them, or we're now in a leadership position, and now you're a manager at your job and you have all these people under you, and same thing that you were just saying right now, we don't understand how to communicate with our employees, and we end up losing time in relationships and money. I want people to understand that you want to be successful, you want to build wealth, you want to build a successful business, especially the leaders out there. Maybe it has nothing to do with what the people are telling you that you need to work on. What you need to work on is your communication.
I've known people that are bona fide hustlers. Like, they can make money.
Yeah.
They can make money. But then they realize that if they wanted to really expand, it took a team. And even though they were great hustlers
Yeah.
and individually making money,
Yeah.
when it came to working with a team, they struggled because they didn't know how to communicate to their team. They didn't know how to create inspiration and motivation inside of another individual.
Yeah.
They didn't know how, when their team was going through struggles, how to express empathy and compassion, even though that could have been how they felt. There's tons of people that have feelings on the inside that they don't know how to communicate on the outside. Tons of people.
Right.
I've worked with people who say, yeah, but I was empathetic towards them. I did have compassion towards them, but they just didn't know how to express it. Because they didn't know how to express it, those people never understood that about them. People only understand about you what you say to them.
Right.
What you say to them. And so if people want their business to go to a new level, I mean, I know today we live in a world where I just watched a podcast the other day where someone said you could build a 8-figure business with just you and AI, and that's it. Okay, for those 5 people out there that are building a business with AI and nobody else, like, okay, don't learn communication skills.
Right,
okay,
right.
But for everybody else, especially some things you mentioned, real estate, a lot of people are working with teams. And if you're not working with a team, then you have a client. And if you're not working with a buyer, you're working with a seller. And if you're not working with your buyers and sellers, you're working with an escrow company. And if you're not working with escrow, you have all these people that you're depending on to communicate with.
True.
Your insurance. I work with my an individual, one of my clients who's also in insurance, and they have a team, and they had a challenge because their team was younger than them. So they're in their 50s, going on their early 60s, and most of their team was in their early 20s. Talk about differences.
Yeah, how do you communicate with generations?
Now they had to, we navigated together how they could talk to their team in a way that made sense. And so there's all these different things that go into communication. I wish I had somebody in my ear that was helping me through all this.
Yeah.
And I just want to be that for other people.
Yeah.
There's people who are watching and they're wondering, like, hey, well, what do you do when you're sitting down with somebody?
Yeah.
Well, me and you sat down together.
Yeah.
And we do sit down together.
Yeah.
And we have our coaching sessions. And we've worked through some of the things in your communication journey that can take you to a new level. Not because I know it all, but because everybody needs somebody to give them perspective and to show them, well, what about this? What if you tweak this? What if you do that? And I'm excited for you because next week you'll be on stage.
Yeah, 100%, man. But I want. That's such a good point, because the best of the best understand that they still need coaching.
100%.
We talk about Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan had his own trainer.
Yeah.
Right? Kobe Bryant had his own trainer. Major League Baseball players have their coaches and trainers, and they're the best of the best. So if you want to reach that new level in communication, maybe you're a high-level producer, and now you're at the point where it's like, well, I need to start speaking in front of crowds. I need to start speaking in front of people. I need to start really communicating a message beyond just 1 or 2 appointments, speaking one-on-one to people. Mm-hmm. What I've realized just in my own personal journey is that my business really started to take off when I was given the opportunity to be able to start speaking on stages, right? Because I had a vision, Pastor Gabriel. I had a vision when I got into the insurance business. And I was sitting back the other day, and I was telling my wife, I was like, babe, it's crazy. Like, it is so amazing what God is doing, because I had this vision when I got licensed, and it was during COVID. I shouldn't have said the C word. They're going to block this. But it was in 2020.
Yeah.
And when it was right when I was getting licensed, and I had this vision of always doing events, speaking in front of people, giving a message, building the value, and allowing the team to now close deals. That's the vision I've always had. And now it's 2025, and that vision is starting to come to fruition. We're getting opportunities to go speak at real estate offices, on stages. We're doing events. We're doing a bunch of things. And what's happening is the Lord is just blessing, and that vision is really coming to life, right? But one of the things goes back to, need to work on that art. You need to work on the art of communication. There's things in that toolbox that you just talked about. I love the big 3 that you talked about. And it's sharpening that skill, getting better, right? Getting better at those things.
Can we talk about one of the skills real quick?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I want to talk about that. Let's go ahead.
Just real quick, because I think if someone's watching this and trying to get value out of this, like, okay, I hear you, I believe it. Okay, you got me. I got to work on my communication. Okay, so they're like, what do I walk away with? Number 1, okay, we talked about tone. Number 2, I really want to leave them with this: storytelling. If you can learn how to storytell, you'll be able to captivate people. You'll be able to. Why were some of the greatest communicators to ever walk the earth storytellers? Look at Jesus. Look at Jesus. How was he communicating truth?
Yeah.
Through stories. Through parables.
Parables, yeah.
2 weeks ago, I was in Fresno, working on a business venture that we have. We work with individuals that have developmental disabilities. We provide in-home care, in-home support, in-home health care. I was up there because we're working on a contract. And we're trying to land the contract, and we have an interview with the firm that's going to be hiring us on to do this, potentially. There's maybe a row of 7 of them, and they're interviewing a lot of different people. We're just one of the interviews that day. They bring us in. We're sitting there, just 2 of us. And they're going to grill us. That's what these sessions are. They're grilling sessions. They're going to ask us 1,000 questions about our programming, or about our physicians, about our care, about all these different things. Real technical style meeting, okay? So I'm there, and they said, well, welcome today. They said, before we get started, just tell us a little bit about who you are. I said, say less. This is my moment. I'm going to tell a story. Because I could have done anything.
Yeah.
I could have said this, I could have said that, but what's going to give me the most value? I'm going to take 2 minutes. I'm going to tell you a story. So they asked me, is there anything you would like to share? I said, yes, I would like to share something. First of all, thank you for the beautiful opportunity to be here with you guys today. I value your time, and I'm just thankful for the fact that you guys even took this meeting with us. I want you to tell you a little bit about me. I have a niece, and this is a true story, so it's coming from my heart.
Yeah.
I have a niece who has severe autism. And I used to think I knew what it was like for parents to have to take care of their individual with the developmental disability, because I worked in the field for 15 years. So who's more prepared to work with these individuals than me?
Right.
One day, I get the call that I have to get custody of my niece. When I get custody of my niece, I realize that I didn't know the first thing about the battle that these parents are going through. From then on out, I made a commitment that any person who comes into my care, I'm going to treat them just like I would my niece. And I'm going to treat every parent like I would treat myself in that moment, because I needed help. And so everything we do is going to be with compassion, love, and care. And I guarantee you, I'll treat every single client like I treated April. Boom! I answered all their questions with a story. Now we got into the nitty-gritty.
Right.
But I got them. I had them. From the moment we walked in, I could feel the room shift. All these serious people were, wow.
That's a tool. Like I'm gonna take it behind the scenes into our coaching session,
Okay.
if that's cool.
Sure.
As you're telling that story, the story, I mean, I'm sure like you opened up with a real life story.
Yeah.
You understood how to communicate that story. It captivated. It immediately sucked the people in, right? But now I'm gonna take it to the because I'm now seeing you communicate this story from a different lens.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing one of the skills that we've been working on, which
Okay.
is the dance of tension and relief,
Sure.
right? Being able to tell the story, the tone in which you're telling it, right? You're gravitating it. It's
Yeah.
more of a compassionate, empathetic type of tone. And then the relief that you just gave right now is boom,
Yeah.
right? And you kind of broke the ice there.
Yeah.
Talk about like, because that's one skill set that I'll be so honest, like I'm learning how to navigate
Yeah.
inside of communication. The art
Yes.
of communication is the tension, the dance between tension and relief.
Yeah. to give people a little encouragement.
This is a little bit more of an
yeah.
insider, like
Yeah.
into the coaching. Yeah.
Yeah, to give people encouragement. We got that contract.
Let's go.
And there was maybe 25 other people trying to get the same
Praise
exact
God.
contract.
That's awesome.
And really, one of the
Yeah.
ladies pulled me aside and she said, we know that you're in this because for the right reasons,
Mm.
and it was all because of that moment.
Yeah.
So there are things and opportunities and money out there for you if you can learn how to communicate with these different tools and skill sets.
Mm.
So we're talking storytelling. We're talking the dance between tension and relief. This is especially helpful for on-stage communicators, even those on podcasts. If you're doing a Zoom presentation, right? Anytime you're speaking for like 30 to 45 minutes, or you're doing like a long time together,
Session, yeah.
a long session, you want to make sure that you don't keep it too serious. So let me give you some keys. Don't keep it too serious. If you're going to be serious the whole time, what are people going to do? They're going to tune you out. I do not want to listen to a boring person for like 45 minutes or 30 minutes. And most of the time, people are boring because they're just using the same tone the whole entire time. The pitch of their voice, because I believe tone is two things, your pitch and your pace. But your tone. Imagine the whole time we did this podcast, every time I replied to you, Pablo, I'd reply like this. Yeah, I think that it is important to be a better communicator. And I think there are ways that's boring.
Right.
Yeah. That's boring.
Yeah.
And that's serious. There's a lot of tension in that. Whether you
Yeah.
realize it or not, a lot of tension in that. Great speakers have the ability to create tension in a room and then to give relief. Tension and relief. Tension and relief. So if I'm telling you a story, right? Like for instance, I'm telling you a story about, I'll use the story I gave you the other day. I'm going to be talking about how seasons change in life. That's the basis of the message I'm communicating. Seasons change in life. And I'm talking to people about how to have victory in every season, whether they're victory, defeat, whatever. So I'm trying to tell a story that'll connect these lines together and captivate the people so I could get them to this stuff, right? So I usually open up and I would say something to the effect of, have you ever had a show that you really loved? Come on, like a show you really, really loved. And I know there's different people in the room. Some of you, like you're around maybe like 40 years old. So you watched 90210. You've watched, what else? What is the other show and then boom, people are responding. Different shows, right? Oh, okay. But there's older people here too. Okay. You're not older, you're seasoned. Okay. There's some more seasoned people in here too. And I know you used to watch MASH. Okay, I know it. You don't have to raise your hand, but I know you used to watch MASH. For me, I've been stuck on this show called Lincoln Lawyer, but anyway, that's a whole nother story. When I was young, I used to love The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Oh, I love The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And if you would stay up and watch Nick at Night from 2 to 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning, you would see like 6 episodes of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. At this point, people are laughing. They're having a good time, right? You know something happened on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air? I watched season 1 and I fell in love with the show. And I fell in love with the characters. I fell in love with Carlton. I fell in love with Aunt Viv. I fell in love with Uncle Phil. All these characters, Will. And then season 2 came along and something happened. I turned on the TV. I seen Uncle Phil. And then I seen Aunt Viv. And they tried to do something. They acted like I wasn't going to catch it. They took Aunt Viv and they got a whole brand new character and plugged her into the show. She was lighter. She was shorter. She had a different voice. And they tried to convince us that this was the very same actor as season 1. And I was 16 years old when I realized that from season to season, things change. And you know the same is true about our lives. From season to season to season, you'll have moments where things change. I'm creating this relief in the beginning.
Yeah.
Getting them to feel like lighthearted.
That's so good. Yeah.
And then you're shifting into a place of tension. And that radical shift, whoa, it grabs people. And people could do that in every realm. I can show people how to do that in
Yeah.
sales because
Oh,
people
yeah.
might think, "Are you preaching? That's a preaching thing." Yeah, but no, you can use that in sales. You can use that in consulting people. You can use that in everyday situations. There's so many things that you can use to really get people engaged in your communication. These are just a few things.
Yeah.
I hope it's even clear for people. Like, you can be a better communicator. Let me
Yes.
talk to that person real quick.
Yes.
You say, I'm a horrible communicator. Join the club. There's so many people that aren't good communicators to start. Well, it's not how you start. It's how you get better day by day. If you say, I know I need to go to the next level of my communication in order to grow in my relationships, grow in my money, grow in my time, grow in all these things, and I just don't feel like I could do it, I guarantee you that you can do it. It's just going to take time, attention, and the right people around you to really show you the areas that you could grow in. I had to talk to that person because there's people that watch and they just say, I'm not a natural communicator. Okay, you can get better.
Yep.
And I think if you want to grow wealth and you want to grow anything, I think you need to get better.
You need to get better, and you need to take the time to apply it, right? You need to take the time. We don't all have. I was having a conversation the other day. They said, well, Pablo, I feel like you're too busy. There's a difference between being busy and making time, though. You make time for the things that are important. This is a skill that could save you time, save you and make you money, and help you build more relationships. So I love that. I'm using that one because anybody could do it.
Yeah.
You just gotta put the work in.
You got to put the work in. And you have to have somebody that's helping you to see those things.
Yeah.
A lot of people, their main communication experience, like we talked about, is just they get on stage or they get in front of people and it's like they learn by just making mistakes.
Failure. Yeah.
And there's not someone in their ear. I have people still to this day that are in my ear about my communication. Every time I communicate, I have somebody I trust. I have people that we work together alongside each other and we're all growing in our communication. Yeah. And I say, give me the truth.
Yeah.
Okay, you could have did this better. You said this point here, but you could have tweaked this a little bit. The crowd started to move like this. You weren't aware of how they were thinking right here. Boom, different things. You did this well. You did this well. Okay, so I'm taking notes. I'm evaluating. I'm shifting. And
you talk about we've been diving into the 3-step, the post game, the in game, and then the pre game, let me say that again. We've been talking about 3 things. We've been talking about the pre-game, in-game, and post-game.
Yes.
How you kind of evaluate those things, right?
Yeah.
The best understand. I mean, look at Kobe. He would go back. We use sports analogy, obviously, because it's what we love sports,
but if
right?
you're not
so
a
it's
Laker
like
fan, I'm not your friend.
So the best athletes, they go back and look at film, right? One of the things that you've told me is I need to start going back and evaluating and watching my film, and it's the thing that I don't want to do, but if I want to be better, I have to go watch film to see how I could get better. Anyways, talk about the pregame. What do you do to prepare?
Yeah.
Right? Going into a talk, going into a podcast, or going into something where you have notes and you're how do you prepare to give a talk?
Okay, so you have a speaking opportunity. You're thinking like, how do I get ready for this? Or what are the things that I need to be aware of? Well, I love sports. And I think sports give us the perfect breakdown of how we could get ready.
Right.
So like you said, we have a pre-game routine, we have in-game strategy, and then we have our post-game. Pre-game is all about preparation. And I've heard it said, one of my favorite quotes, the more you sweat in peacetime, the less you bleed in war. The more you sweat in peacetime, the less you bleed in war. Meaning the more you prepare, the less mistakes you actually make. And so that pregame is so important when you're constructing your messaging, you're putting together what you're actually going to be saying. You're like formulating your notes. That's important because if you don't know how to prepare, like literally in like just how to write out your notes, how to format, how to get ready, how to make your message sticky, making sure that the language and the verbiage you're using is going to stick in people's minds. There's strategy. You might have a point. There's people who have come to me and I've reviewed like their messaging and I say, this is good, but it's not sticky. There's a difference on something that's just a good informative point and something that's going to stick with people. How many times you sit under something and you don't walk away really like there was a great statement, but it didn't stay with you because it wasn't sticky enough. It didn't like land.
Yeah.
There's strategy on how to make your messaging sticky. So you're going through your messaging. You're really getting ready for it. You're looking at your audience. You're having like your audience questions that you're asking. I always ask a few questions about my audience. What time of day am I speaking? What is the condition of the audience? Have they sat through like 10 other people already? Are they fresh? What is their age? What are their demographics? What is their culture? Because I might have a joke I make that's funny to one group of people and it's offensive to another group of people.
Yeah.
So I got to be careful.
Right.
I got to evaluate all these things. And then really one of the main things is doing some mental reps. And we talk a lot about that.
Right.
I think communicators say, well, how do I practice? Like, I can't go to the gym like a basketball player and put up shots. Yeah, but you could take mental reps, literally visualizing yourself in whatever communication setting you're going into and picturing what you're doing, how you're saying it. I look at my notes all the time and I'm just mumbling. Like, if you see me looking at my notes, you would think I'm crazy because I'm sitting there
Yeah.
literally climbing through it.
Yeah.
Literally that attention to detail. Then you go in game. You have a lot of things in game to consider. That would take an hour to go over. But you're thinking about your decision making in game, right? We talk a lot about like your ability to make shifts. Sometimes you're speaking and things don't always go as planned. You have to make shifts. You have to have that instinct. We call it moment instinct. In the moment, when you're speaking, there's going to be sometimes things that land. And if you're experienced, you can give more emphasis there and maybe not go into all the other stuff you had and feel like you need to finish. All these different things. Your body language, your mind control, controlling your mind, making sure your mind doesn't wander too far to a place where you get lost. Different things. Then post-game. There's only one thing to do post-game, and that's evaluate.
Yeah.
And you have to have an evaluation method that you use to go back and look at yourself. Our first time we got on a call, I said, when's the last time you listened to yourself, right?
Yeah.
And you said, I don't listen to myself. And I knew exactly what that's like because I used to never listen to myself.
Right.
Until I decided I wanted to get better. And so I had to go back and listen to myself. Oh, and you know what happens when I listen to myself? Man, I sound weird. Why did I say that? What is it? Even if I go watch this podcast, I'm going to see 10,000 things I didn't like.
Same. Yeah.
But it's important for me to know. There's communicators out there right now that they don't realize that communication can change everything in their life. Everything. And I have the privilege to help people with that on a daily basis, and I love it.
Man, I'm so excited, Pastor Gabriel. This was very fruitful, very insightful. Thank you for the time, man. I want to leave people with this thought: you want to be the best, you got to put in the time. You can't just rely on talent. You got to put the time in. You got to surround yourself with the right coaches, the right mentors, and also, my mom gave me probably one of the biggest pieces of advice. I want to honor my mom, my beautiful mom. I love you, Mom, when you're watching this. She told me the best piece of advice. She said, don't ever take advice from somebody that hasn't walked in the shoes that you essentially where you want to be. Right? So if you're going to hire somebody, doesn't matter whether that's communication, whether that's as a financial advisor, whether that be a life coach, whatever it is, try to do your best to, take advice from people that you wouldn't mind switching shoes with. The fruit is on the tree. It's there, right? So I wanted to leave people with that because this is something, man, like I'm really excited over these next 8 to 10 weeks as we continue to get better, kind of going through the course. I'm really excited to see, different tricks and skill sets that I could start to pick up by going through, the course with you and just being under your mentorship and stuff like that. So I appreciate it. This was super fruitful. How can people get in contact with you? Say they want to get, plugged in, they want to learn more about the course or, what are the next steps?
Main place is Instagram. You can follow me at Speak With Gabe. That's my communication page. For my personal page, you can follow me at Gabriel Villa with 3 A's, Gabriel Villa.
Okay.
Get connected with me there. For communication, that's my main page, though, is that Speak With Gabe page. And people might say, okay, because you mentioned I have my program called Major League Speakers.
Yeah.
And Major League Speakers that's like my flagship program for communicators. Because there's people out there that say, like, I don't know if I want to be a major league speaker. Like, I just want to learn better communication skills.
Right.
I also have a framework that I walk through called Never Nervous. Never Nervous is for your everyday communicator that has these different opportunities. There's people who are getting raised up in the workplace. They're getting elevated in whatever field they're in, and they're finding themselves with a lot more opportunities to speak, and they're actually wondering, like, how do I do this? I don't know how to do this. So I usually take people through Never Nervous. Never Nervous is like a foundational 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-step program and how to be a better communicator to the point where you never get nervous to communicate. And then from there, a lot of people move into Major League Speakers, which Major League Speakers, I treat my players like they're Major League Speakers, like they're at that professional level, and we make those tweaks, we make those adjustments, we put in the work that any professional has to put in their field to become the very best. And I'm extremely proud of that. You're a Major League Speaker yourself.
Appreciate you.
Excited to see you next week. If you're out there, you have a God-given message inside of you, and it's your responsibility to sharpen the skills that He's given you to get that message out.
There it is, man.
Excited.
I appreciate you.
Yes.
Thank you for the time.
Of course.
Guys, make sure you like, subscribe, and keep following the show. We're dropping a new show every Thursday at 6 a.m., and season 1's been great. Last week we had another world-renowned speaker, Calvin Becerra, top 10 network marketing in the world. I mean, this guy, if you don't know Calvin, go watch that podcast that we did last week because it was incredible. This week, you found value in this. Drop some comments down below. Share this with a friend, a leader, a dad, a mom, a business owner that you think that could definitely take advantage of listening to this. Pastor Gabriel, thank you, man. Thank you for the time.
Thank you for having me.
There it is. See you guys next week.